Rolling.
Hey, hi. Welcome to the second episode of the Infinite XP podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Lawrence Whittemore, alongside...
Other one of your hosts, Ryan Dawson. What's going on?
All right, so today we're going to jump right into the news because there was some breaking news that we saw earlier today.
That's the news feed sound.
News feeds?
Yep.
No, can't do that. We can't copy other podcasts that do news feeds.
Oh, they do that? I'm going back to like the old-timey radio stuff.
So anyway, this is from PC Gamer, but you can probably find it right on Cliff Bleszinski's Twitter account. But Cliff Bleszinski closes Bosky Productions.
Big deal.
So I'm going to read right from PC Gamer here. It says, with the failure of the arena shooter Lawbreakers behind it and Radical Heights apparently unable to gain a seizable enough player base, Cliff Bleszinski has announced that Bosky Productions is being closed. This is a quote right from Cliff. 4 years ago, I set out to make a world-class video game studio, and I hired some of the best talent in the video game industry. They worked tirelessly to produce quality products, and while we had our ups and downs, I'd like to think we had fun doing it. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
So I feel that there's a couple takeaways. One being that there's a lot of competition in this industry that's going to give us, the customers, better results. So this isn't all bad. However, in the sense that this is coming, this is awful. Like you can't even find a niche, or you can't even compete in certain aspects because people are just so devoted to one title. It's strange.
So I know when there was a news story a little while ago that Radical Heights did see a big player jump when I want to say it was Ninja was playing Fortnite servers went down, and he jumped over to Radical Heights.
That happens.
You know, I think when that happened, I think a lot of us thought, all right, cool, you know, I got some exposure.
Yeah.
It might actually make it, because it's a pretty fun game. It's a neat take on the...
If you like Fortnite, you'd love Radical Heights. I would think. It's got the same arcade feel with a different twist on the whole closing circle, and I thought it was a really... like not revolutionary, but a good new way to think of it that made it less frantic and less what's the word for less forced. You had options. You could go different areas.
Yeah, the way the circles, they didn't have circles in Radical Heights.
Grid.
It was grids, and the different grid zones
faded
away, and you couldn't play in those areas. So it was a neat twist. I loved the 80s theme as a child from the 80s. That had its appeal to me, and it's a bummer to see it didn't take off. I know Lawbreakers was a neat game, you know, high production value, but it was just in a kind of overcrowded area, and it came out at the time that I think these battle royale games really hit their stride. So I remember Lawbreakers came out, but I was deep into PUBG, and I had no desire to play another shooter on top of that.
One thing about Radical Heights is it was very polygon. It was very rough. Had little to no finish. I mean, there was see-through things, and it was all squares and grids and right angles, and so it was. Yeah,
I think they were hoping. So it was. I think they called it extreme early access, and I think they were hoping to kind of use that. You know, Lawbreakers didn't do so well, and they needed another project. Battle Royale genre is huge with PUBG and Fortnite right now, and I think they're like, all right.
So I think that's what they did. They tried to get out to compete on a time scale, but they couldn't compete on a finished look. They couldn't keep up with what Fortnite.
Bummer to see that go. I don't know. You know, I don't think Cliff mentioned what he was doing next, but I know I recognize the name from Gears of War when the original Gears of War came out. He was the creative mind behind it, and you know that's how I remembered his name. And then when he left, I want to say Epic. I think that's where he left from, but I could be completely wrong. When he left and then started Bosky, I kind of paid attention because of who he was, and it's sad to see this happen. I think as a gamer, we hate to see anything bad happen, to the game industry when companies close and are shut down.
Well, you just wonder then, what does lack of competition bring? Will the titles that we appreciate be forced to evolve like they normally would if there's no one on their heels? There's no one nipping at them saying, hey, we're the next big thing, so that makes PUBG give us a new map. I don't know if that's where that comes from or if it's just regular evolution period. So, I feel that the competition is going to breed at least a higher sense of customer value, you know, because you've got to have your customers, right? Without us, there's no game. So
right, yeah, and we'll see what happens. But like you mentioned, new PUBG map. So this weekend we did get to.
that was fun.
Yeah, that was
like that.
Ryan's segue into wanting to talk about PUBG because that's all he can play right now.
Right.
But yeah, so the experimental server, they call it this time. So now there's 3 installs for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on my computer.
And it's a quick download. It's not as long as the other 2.
The regular game, the test server, and now the experimental server. So, but we did get to play some of the new map this weekend once we figured out that it was the experimental server, and we kept trying the test server going, why is it not connecting?
And that's it. You know, you go, you can't connect, and you wonder, what's the issue? Why can't they give us a specific reason as to why you can't connect? What does that take? You know, servers are too busy. Well, are they just overloaded and you click again in 5 minutes? Or are you going to be waiting hours because they're updating?
yeah, that is an issue. So if PUBG devs are listening, I know we're not the only complainers, but
fill us in.
Update your
Just give us
messages. You know,
info.
you can't connect to the server. Tell us why.
Yeah.
Don't just say the servers are too busy when you've shut them down.
Right. But the new map, it's so fun. So I don't know if you guys are familiar. PUBG, huge map, too much land, too much room, and you're constantly, if you land in the wrong spot, your whole game is rushing. Well, this, it doesn't feel that way. The map being smaller, you still have the room to get started, whether you want to join, you know, jump in with a lot of people, or you can get yourself that little bit of distance. But it's more, what did they hurried the game.
It's denser. The circles close in quicker.
Yep.
But it's denser. There's a lot more buildings, a lot more areas to pick up weapons. And one of the things they've done that I really appreciate, less doors to open. A lot of the rooms are a lot bigger. So you run into a building and you can loot a lot quicker. You don't have to open like 1,000 doors to find the loot. And I bet it's just for the experimental server right now, but the guns.
Yeah.
So many good guns.
Man, they dropped
2 minutes,
everything.
you got an M4 and likely a silencer
And it just makes it more fair, because everybody knows that when you drop in and he gets the gun before you do, that's all there is to it. And some of that you accept. But when you've been playing for about 2 minutes and you haven't found a weapon to shoot, that's so frustrating, whether there's somebody on you or not. That's too long.
Got a shotgun,
that's too many minutes.
And they've got
or
M4
nothing.
and they're
or
decked
nothing.
out. And
Literally running around with a stun grenade.
The RNG is often a little frustrating in that game. Then the people that are right next to packages when they drop, now they've got level 3 everything, and
that's one thing I've always had a hard time with. The whole care package to the center of the map, or where the center is going to be next. It just, you're rewarding people who already got lucky in the first place.
Right, they're already in the center of the map.
Because it's random. Now, if you were given an idea of where the final circle might be, and you could choose to go there or go further away to give yourself that distance, and then so you drop in where it's going to be higher density, more people to worry about, then you get rewarded for sticking it out, and the crate goes there.
Different things. I like to see if you're not in the center, and if you don't know where the circle is going to be, if you're not in the center or even in the circle to start, maybe put a little better loot on the outside of the circle to encourage people to not try to get in the center right away. They should be able to do that.
Okay.
We'll see.
You'd think they couldn't do it the way it's not done.
Let's talk about some other items that
what else is in the news?
Lawrence? So this one you probably haven't heard anything about because you're not a Nintendo player, but Nintendo, let's see, just announced, I thought I had it in my notes here, had announced earlier this week their online strategy. So what they're doing is a little different. Let me see if I can find it. Ryan, talk and fill the air.
What was it? Was it the thing you mentioned with the achievements? No.
No, we can talk about the achievements.
Okay, I'll try again.
Nintendo Switch Online, they've got they talked about it coming out later this year, and it's only, I think, $20 a year for your subscription. And they have a Nintendo, they didn't call it Virtual Console, but there's a library of old games that you'll get with the Nintendo with this subscription. And the big thing that I thought was interesting was the cloud saves. So currently right now, all your data for your games are saved on your Nintendo. So if your Switch breaks, you're done. You've lost
files corrupted.
You've lost your saves.
Yeah.
So this is a frustrating feature.
Do not shut off while saving.
Because it should be there to begin with, but it's not. and then they're going to put it behind a paywall. Granted, a not terribly expensive paywall, but would love to see them maybe separate the save data backup to be just a free part of the system, or maybe just.
I think any aspect like that should not be charged for. I think you pay for the game.
And
there it is.
Even if maybe they don't do the cloud save, but maybe they make it so that you can upload your saves to an SD card or something, so that you at least have them. Because right now the way it works, if your Nintendo breaks, your saves are gone.
Yeah.
So here I'm on Nintendo.com. Switch/online-service if you want to find more information about the upcoming offer. But so with the Nintendo games, so it says enjoy 20 NES games with an added online play for the first time ever. So that's something I didn't even realize. So that's kind of cool. I wonder what the games are going to be.
What's that telling me?
Because they're going to add
fill the layman in.
They're going to add online play to old school Nintendo games that never had online play. So instead of playing locally on a single home console, you can play globally against other people that have the Nintendo online service.
That's interesting.
That sounds pretty cool.
That's a thing that should be available for every game. That just sounds appealing.
So yeah, go to Nintendo.com and you can read more. But what I found interesting about the whole thing was the price. So it's $20 a year. So right now I pay $60 a year for Xbox Live, $60 a year for PlayStation Plus, and now if I want to take my Nintendo online, it's only $20 a year.
That's competitive.
That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
and you do get the game library. So I know with PlayStation and Xbox, you get free games every month.
Yep.
Which is really cool. So
yeah, Games for Gold is pretty amazing.
I think that's Nintendo's way of trying to compete with that, but them adding the multiplayer into it, that kind of adds that next step to those old games that never had the online multiplayer. So, that's pretty cool. And speaking about Nintendo, this I found was really interesting because this is kind of the first time something like this has happened, but this article is from GameSpot, and you can start earning Xbox achievements on the Nintendo Switch in Minecraft starting in June.
That's what I want to ask you. Just Minecraft.
So yeah, it's just Minecraft.
Do you think they'll do that with other third-party titles?
Well, I don't know how that would work with other ones because Microsoft owns Mojang, the company that makes Minecraft.
Okay.
So that being a multi-platform game, it kind of makes sense that you can earn those achievements. But yeah, let me read a snippet from the article from GameSpot.com. It's Mojang has announced a date for their Big Better Together update to Minecraft on Switch, which will enable unprecedented ability to earn Xbox achievements on the Nintendo console. The update will drop on June 21st. Microsoft announced the ambitious plan to unify the various versions of Minecraft with crossplay last year, which also meant you'd be signing into an Xbox Live account on each platform. The company then confirmed in a statement that since you'd be signed into an Xbox Live account, you'd be earning Xbox Live achievements no matter where you are. The Better Together update, also known as the Bedrock update, for providing a unified framework, already released on September 20th, 2017 for all platforms except Nintendo Switch. So that is pretty neat.
So back when Xbox first came out, I always thought it was interesting that I could go to your house, sign in on your Xbox, attach my gamer tag, and play. Yep. I thought that was fantastic. That blew my mind. 10, 15 years ago, however long it's been.
Probably close to.
So this seems like 15? An extension of that. Now, on a Wii, on a Switch, you can load up Blenderhead and play the title really and get the achievements. So that's really interesting.
What I hope someday comes out of all this, and I think Sony is the company that needs to play along, because Sony will not allow cross-platform between them and Microsoft. They already allow it on. Well, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe they're not allowing it. But I know, like with Xbox, we played the other day. We played Fortnite. We gave it a try. And we had a friend play on my Xbox.
Tell them the thing we did.
I played on my PC, and Ryan played on my other PC.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we tried.
It was really fun. The fact that we didn't have a third computer, we were like, but we want to include this extra person who wasn't normally around. And we could. It was so great. I didn't even think of it because it's not something I correlate, but it's obvious. They cross-platforming, and they say it, I think, in the lobby. It tells you who you're playing against, whether it's PC or console. And the fact that he could actually join in, there was no lag, there was no delay, no desync. It was straight up.
It took a minute for us to figure out that we had to set our audio. We had to turn the tap to chat off because we were trying to talk to him. He couldn't hear us. But once we figured out, we turned off the having to hold the button.
And
to
that's
talk.
just it. Like
We
all
could
the
just
features
talk
worked.
freely, and
All the features.
it worked like he was playing
Yeah.
on another PC.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool.
Speaking of console versus PC, the guy who won Fortnite PC with a DualShock controller.
The PlayStation controller.
Yeah, that was amazing to me because, and I'll tell you why, terrible with the keyboard and mouse. Still, months in, because I've always been a console guy, and when you switch platforms like that, PC is far easier due to the macro setup, being able to use quick key functions. When you tie that into a controller, you lose something. There's more menu time. There's scrolling, tap over to the right.
The aiming, I think, to me is the hardest.
But there's where it gets. And,
with a mouse and keyboard, you're a lot more precise with the aiming, and with the controller.
Because with the controller, they've always added in auto aim. Yes.
So here, let's take a little gander at that article. It was from Variety.com is where I saw it, but maybe they probably share in someone else's. We'll see. But it goes, popular PS4 streamer Nick Merckx won one of the most stumbling over my own words, won one of the most high-profile Fortnite tournaments on Friday, and he apparently did it with a DualShock controller.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
that means I'm going to plug in a controller later today and see what happens.
I think that's neat. I'm not sure what sort of things Fortnite has, but I remember reading years ago that Microsoft had tried cross-platform with PC versus Xbox, and it failed miserably. The PC
because PC just dominated. Yeah.
So maybe the auto aim in Fortnite is enough to help give the controller players an edge.
So is that an automatic thing when you're on a controller that you've plugged in, the auto aim clicks on?
Yeah.
Is that a function you can turn on and off with a PC? No, I've never seen.
I don't know, but I know one thing that I've heard that you can do to kind of hack that is they have adapters, PC keyboard and mouse adapters for like the Xbox and PlayStation. So you plug that adapter in, your Xbox thinks you're using a keyboard, or knows you're using a keyboard, but the Xbox thinks you're using a controller, so the things like the auto aim stay turned on, and it gives you that much more accuracy.
People on console will switch to a keyboard and mouse.
Yep, and then they get the benefit of
and they have the
auto aim.
Man,
so
you guys, what you think of next?
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I want to agree with that.
So yeah, let's talk a little. We're on the topic of Xbox. So this is just a kind of a heads up for everyone in case you are using Xbox One Game Pass. These are a list of some games that are going away as of May 31st. So
when you say going away,
they're leaving the free-to-play Game Pass subscription.
Okay,
so if you get a subscription to Game Pass, they're still there.
You still play them.
You got to buy them if you want them. But there's only two listed for the Xbox One, and this is actually from GameSpot.com. But the two Xbox One games are Blood Bowl 2 and Defense Grid 2.
I don't know those games.
Neither two I know. And then these, a bunch of other ones. The only one that really stood out to me is one that I really wanted to mention. Was Borderlands, the original Borderlands for Xbox 360.
So are you telling me right now you could play Borderlands online? Multiplayer, I mean?
Yeah, no, that's not what this is. This is, so the Game Pass is Microsoft's, you pay a monthly subscription fee, and you get to play these games. There's a whole library of 100 plus games that are included in that subscription. And they, when the subscription launched, they had mentioned that games would be added and games would be taken away over time.
That makes sense.
But
so it's not really a great loss because these got to be titles that people have pushed off to the side.
Yeah, they're
There's
probably not even being played.
Right.
But if you're watching this and you haven't played Borderlands and you've got Game Pass,
try it.
Which is probably not likely to be a combination, given that we've maybe gotten 30 views of video tops, but just something we thought we'd share. On to a little more news. So this is was the biggest thing going on for Bethesda this week. So we mentioned in our last episode that Walmart Canada had leaked a bunch of games, upcoming games that hadn't been announced.
And then they were like, but we're not sure those are even real titles.
Right,
we leaked what we don't even know yet.
Then they said it was just speculation, but what I don't imagine was just speculation, because who speculated Rage 2? But today, the Rage 2 trailer hit and has been officially announced by Bethesda.
Yes.
So it's a legit
coincidence?
thing.
I think not.
So this is from Polygon.com, and it says Rage 2 trailer hints at silly sequel mixing Mad Max with Borderlands. We'll get back to that in a second, but it says Rage 2 has been officially announced with a live-action trailer posted to Bethesda's YouTube page. The game's existence was leaked earlier this month by a Walmart ad. The new promo is filled with bright colors, gaudy weapons, and a fast rock track. It looks as much like the recent Mad Max film in the Borderlands game series as it does the original Rage. So
I feel that Borderlands 2 is already post-apocalyptic. So what do they mean? It's
that's what when they're saying it looks like Borderlands and Mad Max. I thought Borderlands looked like Mad Max.
Yeah.
So unless this has a lot of
maybe
vehicle
it's a little more
chasing.
Yeah. Well, they already had that.
Well, they had the vehicles in Borderlands, but
I don't know. Maybe Mad Max has also had a serious tone to it, like
maybe
survival.
Maybe that's what they were going.
So maybe it's got a little more like permanence to it, consequences. You know, because that's what Mad Max makes me think of is like scary. Oh, you know, oh no, I might die.
Yeah.
Borderlands had that arcade kind of campy. You know, let's try that again. You know,
I absolutely love Borderlands, so this actually looks pretty good. But I'm still hoping for Borderlands 3 at this E3. So if this does come out later this year and Borderlands 3 comes out later this year, I wonder who's going to come on top. But I really don't think Borderlands 3 is going to come out this year. I think this will get released later this year. Yeah. Bethesda, the last few E3s, they've been really good at saying, hey, look, here's Fallout 4, and it's going to be available in 6 months, or less than 6 months, in 3 months, so later this year, this fall. And then last year, they were like, look at all these games, Evil Within 2, Wolfenstein 2, which was probably one of my Game of the Years last year. Yeah. You know, a Dishonored update or new release, so all came out, announced at E3, and then came out within the following months, so I get a feeling Rage 2 is definitely coming out later this year. Borderlands 3 hasn't been announced, only been hinted at. Probably not going to come out this year, so I don't really think they'll affect each other.
But titles like that, similar titles like that, do they have any control over, I guess, knowledge of each other in the sense of release dates like that? Because it seems to me that if those two titles were released too close, they would have the wrong kind of competition.
Right, and I think that happened to Gearbox, the makers of Borderlands, a couple years ago when they released Battleborn. So I want to say they announced Battleborn first. Overwatch was then announced, and I think Battleborn's even beat Overwatch to the market. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I point down, because the video's up here and the comments are down below. So correct me if I'm wrong, but Overwatch took off and Battleborns didn't, even though they were both very similar game styles. So you're right. Do these companies, I think they have some ability to know.
I think their ability to know is just their own research. Nobody calls, hey, by the way, there's no informing.
So right now the biggest game that I think everyone's talking about this year is Red Dead Redemption 2.
I can't.
And it's got a set. They've announced the release date. So I guarantee you that companies out there are saying, all right, Red Dead 2 is going to own this month. So where can we place ourselves to not be there? And I forget what the date is offhand. But I know
I'm sure that based on where they are, they either rush it or they delay it.
Right. I think it's coming out in October.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Call of Duty the last 7 years, 7 iterations
They've been October, November releases.
They've been November, early November, first week of November, second week of November, 3rd through the 11th, that range. And this year they're actually releasing early October. So it's like, is that to get out in front of Red Dead?
Because then when you have games that aren't even direct competitors as far as style, it's still money out of people's pockets, so they got to beat somebody to the punch.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
because otherwise you're waiting till that Christmas holiday.
A lot of people, I got $60 to spend on one game. Which game am I going to get? I'm a huge Call of Duty fan. I buy Call of Duty every year at this time, but now there's Red Dead. So
I think another thing though, Call of Duty is they've lost that fresh appeal. You know what you're going to get.
You do, but they still sell. I think it was the top selling game last year. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I know that personally I won't rush out to buy the next Call of Duty. After World War II, I was sated for a while. Great game. I'm not knocking them. I just feel like now that I've got that and they've gone back to what I'm familiar with and they did it so well, I'm content. I'd like to branch out and actually go back to a game that I had so much fun with, because Red Dead Redemption I put so many hours in and there was very little repetition. You did the grinding aspect, but it didn't feel like you were just plodding along, doing the same thing over and over. It had such a fresh feeling every time you played. So I'm really anxious. Red Dead is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out, and one of the games I'm looking forward to later this year. So that's it for what we had to really talk about on news. But my daughter Alexa is
Our other producer.
Yes, producer number 2 is standing behind the camera, wanting us to talk about kid games and what. So come.
Yeah.
No, be very careful. Come all the way around this way. Come all the way around, and make sure you talk up, but don't yell. So what you wrote? She wrote down.
Yeah, they can't see it. I don't think.
Kid game. Now
game
you probably
now.
can't see it. 'Cause
There it is.
Yay.
There you go.
Kid game.
So
now. What?
we like to talk about titles that we probably wouldn't let kids play. So what would you like to see? What would you put on your Christmas list for Dad to buy? If
Well, we
you were,
already
I
have
know it's early
one
yet.
game that I like, Slime Ranchers.
Slime
the
Ranchers.
Xbox one.
Yeah, so Lexi does like to play Slime Ranchers. That's a game my son. I think it came free with the Xbox Games with Gold 1 month, and my son wanted me to buy it for the computer, and I was like, no, we already got that on the Xbox. It was free Games with Gold. You want to play that? Play it there, and he played a whole bunch of it, and then got her into it.
And I'm telling you, those games with gold are great for that right there. Free titles that who knows who might enjoy them. It's so cool.
Do play Fortnite.
Do you?
We do play
Have we
Fortnite.
played Fortnite together?
Don't do
Yes.
that. That's gonna make a loud sound in the microphone.
They're
Pick it
gonna
up.
hear that.
Oopsie.
Yeah. Fortnite's fun for kids of all ages.
It's so I help coach lacrosse, and every game, every practice, the kids are all clamoring about Fortnite and who's gonna go play, and did they get the latest update? They were talking about actually one of the other coaches' son was playing.
I'm so jealous that I don't care for Fortnite, but they added in that Marvel aspect. So
That's
now
what I was
I have
just
to
gonna
like,
say,
I
yeah.
have to like Fortnite.
So-
I have to.
One of the other coaches was saying that at our games this past weekend, how his son had got to play Thanos, and he was
Yeah.
absolutely thrilled. Won the game. I don't know if he'd ever won the Fortnite before.
Oh, wow.
Got whatever Fortnite calls
Yeah.
their version of the chicken dinner.
Victory Royale, right?
Yeah, Victory Royale.
with cheese.
So he won with playing as Thanos and was absolutely thrilled. And
Yeah.
it's just interesting because the other coach isn't even a gamer, and
Yeah.
he knew what Fortnite was.
Yeah.
He knew about the Thanos update, and
So when they cross genres like that, movies to video games, look what you bring in. Look who you capture. You know, all these people that don't even play. They're like, wait a second, I like superheroes. You telling me there's a video game with a superhero in it? Turns out there has been. Pay attention. But no, that's pretty cool. What else do you like? Any others? Do you play Minecraft? Do kids like Minecraft?
I do
still?
play
Is that
sometimes
a
with
thing?
Cameron.
Yeah, you do. Right.
play a little Minecraft.
We played the Lego Avengers Marvel. Whatever
And
it's
Lego,
called.
that's another one. You can take a title that has been played and done 1,000 times over, add Lego to the title, and boom, you got a whole new video game that parents and kids can sit and play together. I was big on that. My son's grown now, but I had a lot of fun playing his games with him. Games I would never have even endured, but because he wanted to do it, I was like, all right. And they do it well so that you adults, you can do that. You can have fun with your kids. It's a thing. Try it.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
the Lego games I think are 8. So go ahead and step out of the way.
Thanks, Lex.
Thank you, honey.
Keep our production values
I think
up.
Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. I think
Yeah.
was a game that Cameron got for Christmas last year, so that we could play it together.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend those for families that are looking for games that they can play with their kids, even if they're not that into video games. The Lego games are really universally adaptive,
Yes,
I guess.
That's
know,
a good way to put that.
Anyone
I like that.
that knows very little about video games can probably pick up and play, especially if they're playing with someone that already knows what they're doing.
So kids, if you're watching, we just gave you a bunch of reasons to go to your parents and start begging. Okay? You're welcome.
Get them involved.
Yeah.
So I think
All right.
that's going to do it
Thanks,
for our show
dude.
today. Thank you,
Good job.
Ryan, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching. This guy. This part I'll edit out.
Maybe.
Baby.
You
Got
need
a
to take a shower.
wireless thing for my camera so I can stop recording with the
Right.
press of a button.